Started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our WWJ conference. If you popped away for a little while to grab some food, I hope you got something super yummy. I know I did, but I don't want to talk about it because we had some nutritionists speak earlier, so I was a little bit ashamed of that. But anyway, I hope you're having a blast at the conference like I am. I'm so super excited to be here. I'm Allie from Allie Likes to Write, and I'm going to be talking a little bit today about maintaining your inspiration while you're writing. So while we're actually sitting down and putting pen to paper and words on the keyboard, how to maintain that inspiration. But before I jump into that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I am a mom of a little 4-year-old girl who really keeps me on my toes. Um, and she's actually inspiration for most of my stories, or a lot of my stories that I write. Anyway, I am a children's book author, illustrator. I've got a few middle grade fantasy novels out there in the works. So that's really fun. I've also done some fairy tales and even some romance and some poetry. So that's what I do. I love it. It's so much fun. So I want to talk about some inspiration and maintaining that inspiration. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my slides. I'm going to share my screen with you. And while I'm doing this and getting this up here, I will say, I want to encourage you to, if you have like a notebook or your notes app, however you're taking notes today, pull that out and write down a couple words about what you think inspiration means to you, or what you think of when you hear the word inspired, inspiration. I will share mine. I was thinking of the movie The Greatest Showman. How many of you have seen The Greatest Showman? Probably all of you, right? It's a fantastic movie. Well, in this movie, I don't know that it's historically accurate, but he sings about a million dreams. He's lying in bed every night. I lie awake. The brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. And I thought, oh my goodness, how like a writer is that? How many writers, how many stories do you have in your brain right now, floating around up there, just thinking of all these ideas? A million dreams are going on up in there. He also sings a line, we can live in a world that we design. That is literally what writers do. We literally live in our world that we design. And I'm so inspired by him because he takes all of his million dreams in his mind and he turns it into something amazing. And it sort of encouraged me that maybe I can do the same thing. We can do the same thing as writers. So how do we maintain inspiration as we write? I get this question a lot from writers and writers groups, or even people who aren't writer friends of mine. Do you even need inspiration? Where does your inspiration come from? Well, I'm sure you probably feel the same way. It's not super fun for me to write if it's something that I have to do. Like if we have an essay due or somebody's asked you to write on a specific topic. Our best and most creative writing is usually done when you're inspired, when you've got something inside to write from. Um, so when the COVID shutdown first began, we thought it was going to be a couple weeks, and it was my goal during the COVID shutdown to write a short story a day for the kids that were trapped at home and to help their poor parents entertain them. So when the shutdown went from 2 weeks to a really long time, I sort of went from a story a day to a story a week or so. But anyway, at first it was pretty easy. I sat down and wrote pretty easily, but then a couple days into it, I sit down to the laptop and I've got this realization of I've got a story due and I don't have any ideas. So I'd like to talk to you about what I did to sort of get the inspiration flowing and when you need a little extra dose. I love this quote so much. You can't wait for inspiration. You have to go after it with a club, by Jack London. He's super clever. But this is what when I always wrote my entire life, and then just for the past maybe 2 years or so, I really tried to be a dedicated writer. So my whole life before, I always just thought inspiration would just sort of come to you. And whenever it did, I would write a paragraph or two, whatever, get it down, but I didn't write much. So I'm learning that you really have to chase inspiration down. So how can we go after it with a club? So this is probably kind of a no-brainer. It can be important to set the tone and train your brain with a place and a time so that you know specifically this is why you're here. You are here to write. Find your happy writing place. So when do you write best? For me, it's always first thing in the morning, when all my noisemakers are still kind of sleeping, and I can just have some time to myself. But a lot of writers I know are more alive in the evening. So when do you find it best for you to write? And then where is your best place to write? If you don't have a super fancy office, where in your house is maybe the most far away from distraction and the most comfortable for you. For me, before I got my office, it was in our kitchen at my kitchen table, because we actually never use the kitchen table for anything. We don't even eat there, so don't even really know why we have the table. But it's a great place to not be distracted, and it was a long way from all of my noisemakers in the house. So find your place like that. And also, I would suggest finding a place that isn't also used for something else. Like if you are on the couch, that might not be a good place, because if you're like me, your brain just automatically shuts off. You're ready to veg and mess on your phone or whatever. So find a good place and time to write. Of course, it's not a hard and fast rule. If you're inspired someplace else, then go ahead, write, where if you're on vacation or whatever, but it's really good to have a dedicated place and time. Helps you focus on that inspiration. Okay, so remember your original inspiration. This is really fun for me, but it's also very, very helpful. Whenever you get stuck, think about what your first inspiration was for your current work in progress. So, where were you? What did you do? Who were you with? Did you take any pictures? Maybe you were on vacation and you got inspired for a particular story, or something popped in your head that you just knew you had to write about. Um, Go ahead and pick up your paper where you wrote down your ideas about inspiration earlier, and write down what your original inspiration for your story was, or for your current work in progress. Just write it down. Mine was actually in this picture. You can kind of see this green door in the woods. So several years ago, I was driving along in the mountains, and I look over and I see a green door. It was a shack really, but all you could see was the door, because there was kind of trees, branches sort of growing around it. And my writer's brain just went nuts. Like, what is behind that door? Why is it out here in the middle of the woods? Just it seems so mysterious. So from that moment, actually the wheels started turning, and a trilogy came from that, my middle grade fantasy trilogy. And then a little while later, like a few days or so, we drove past the same spot, and I took a closer look, and it was actually a porta potty. This was really funny to me. So the porta potty was inspiration for my middle grade fantasy trilogy. I guess inspiration can come from the most unexpected places. But it really does help when I kind of get stuck. I'm writing the third one now, and whenever I get stuck for inspiration, I sort of think back to that time, the first time that I saw the door, and thought about that kind of childlike intrigue and mystery and magic of what could be back behind that door. Um, so yeah, keep calling to mind your original inspiration if you get stuck. Next, fill your space with writing inspiration. I love this photo. It's a little bit cluttered, and I don't know if I would suggest that, but I love that this desk is surrounded by things that inspire this person. And remember that picture that we were just talking about in the last slide. If you do have a photo, slap it up on your wall, or lay it on your desk. Have it where you can see it. I know I've surrounded my space with pictures of my kid and pictures of our wedding, and things that inspire me like that. So definitely have that available right in your face while you're writing. You can look up and see it and remember. Business cards. So how many of you guys have business cards for your author personality? This was something that really, really helped me to know there's something about seeing your name with the word author underneath, or word crafter, however you've decided to designate your title, but there's something about seeing that, knowing that you're a legitimate author, that you have goals, that your writing is doing something for you, knowing that that's there. And I didn't notice this when I picked out the slide, I promise, but I do see a box from Vistaprint on the corner of this desk in the slide. So if you don't have business cards, pop up to Vistaprint. It's cheap, it's fast, it's easy, and make yourself some business cards. You will feel better for it. And fan mail, you guys, oh my goodness, it feels so good if somebody tells you that a piece of your writing has affected them in some way, especially if it's positive. So go through your old fan mail. If someone said something to you that encouraged you about your writing, put that up on the wall. Put it where you can see it, or just go back and read through it again so you can kind of remember that you're making a difference and how good it feels. And then goals. So it's super important, to have goals. And I think it's a good idea to write down the goal for your specific work in progress. What is your specific goal for this story or this essay or this whatever you're working on my desk at home. So it can be goals for like your ultimate writing journey goal. And I have on a big piece of orange paper at home, I have this written down. I will write a fun middle grade fantasy series that will bring glory to God. Because that's my ultimate desire, is to bring glory to Him. And I want to make sure that I could get through this fantasy series. When I get stuck, it's good to look up and see that goal and think, okay, this is what I'm working for. Don't stop, keep going. And it's very, very helpful. So think about what your goals are. Maybe even write that down in your notebook now, too, while you're thinking about it. So these next few slides are my absolute favorite. Love yourself. Embrace the heck out of who you are and what makes you unique. Wrap yourself in that and then write. Oh, you guys have been so encouraging today at the conference so far, and I'm going to keep on with that. You are amazing. We as writers are amazing. We have this special talent that God gave us that it's such a gift. It's such a blessing. Not everybody can turn thoughts into words. Not everybody can build worlds and make people feel things. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift. You're amazing. And in the next couple slides, we're going to talk about paying attention to ourselves, to who we are, and to using that for writing. Take assessment of how you're feeling before you begin. There's a lot of things that can affect our writing. Financial difficulties, struggling in relationships, like Daniel was just talking about it. We all have stuff going on in our lives. And or even maybe you're just hungry, right? And that can affect your writing. But there's a lot going on that that can sort of keep us and block our inspiration and keep us from being inspired. So sort of when you come to your desk to write or wherever you're writing, take assessment of how you're feeling and validate that. So I mentioned that I always like to write first thing in the mornings when it's nice and beautiful and there's a sunrise coming up and it's a happy time of day, especially after the coffee's kicked in. So I always tend to write during that time of day and coming from a place of really positivity. So when I was writing my last book, it ended up with a battle scene. And in a battle scene, there's death and there's fear and there's a lot of darkness. But I would be coming at it from this place of positivity, and it was a struggle to just jump right into the characters in their fear and stuff like that. So I found that it's really, really helpful to write it out. Write it out. Get your emotions out. Validate that. If you're feeling depressed and sad and there's something going on inside of you, someone's hurt you, there's some kind of turmoil, write that down so that it's validated and that you can sort of get it out, even if it's just a couple words or just a paragraph or so. Get that out, and then you can move on and be more inspired with your characters. So continue calling to mind who you are and do the things that remind you of you. I love this slide because we all have weird personality quirks, right? We're all weird in our own specific way. And I have learned that the things that I was always embarrassed of in high school about myself, they're the things that make me unique. And you know what? God gave us our unique individual personalities, our unique weird desires, and the things that we like, our weird music. I said play weird instruments like this thing at the top of the slide here. I don't really know what that is, and I've never seen one, but I like to play. I like to play handpan, and if you've never seen it, you should check out a couple of my videos. I've got some of me playing, or just look at it on YouTube. This really cool UFO looking thing, and it's just fun. It's different. It's funky, and it helps to make me feel like myself when I play that. Read your favorite authors. Surround yourself with things that inspire you personally, things that you know that you love that make you unique and special. Just again, wrap yourself in that and sort of channel that into your characters. It really helps to build your worlds when you know how you're feeling on the inside and things that you like and things that you love. You can really pour those into your characters. So you may want to go ahead and write down a couple of things in your notes also about who you are and some of the maybe little weird things about you that you love that make you feel like yourself. And just kind of keep reminding yourself of those things as you're writing. It'll shake ideas loose. At least it does for me. Continue calling to mind whose you are. Remember your ultimate inspiration. This is so helpful to me. And again, we're WWJs, so of course you expect this kind of thing. My ultimate inspiration is God and my relationship with Him. That is the sort of lens that I see everything through. It's what helps me make decisions. It's what guides my whole life. And when you get stuck, say your characters have some sort of conflict, or there's some sort of answer that a question that needs to be answered, you can do that through take assessment of your ultimate inspiration and where you're coming from, and that will really help. The first thing I do, and I would highly suggest this to you guys before I sit down and write, I always pray. I always say a prayer that God will guide my writing and that it will bring Him glory, because that's my ultimate goal, and I want that so much. So I pray that prayer over my writing, and then I read some of the Bible, and that really helps to channel me, to focus me on where my story is going to go. And then Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. I know it's been read earlier today. I think that's so amazing. I think God is really speaking to us in this conference on some specific things. So Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." This verse can be so encouraging in so many ways, but it reminds us of God's plan. It reminds us that He planned us, He gave us our abilities, and He knew in advance what we would be good at. He knew in advance what we would be capable of. If you're not encouraged by anything else, please be encouraged, be inspired by that God, our Creator, knew you, He loved you, He made you, and He knew what you were going to be capable of. He gave you your abilities. He knew what you were going to be capable of, and then He gave you this story. He put this story in your heart, or this idea of what you want to write, this dream of yours. He put it in your heart, knowing what you were going to be capable of. And I feel like that's so inspiring, because we know we can do it. God gave you your story to you. You're going to be the best one to tell it, because again, He gave it to you and He knows what you can do. I'm just so inspired by that. Also, you can go ahead and take a moment to write down here too what your ultimate inspiration is. If you happen to be listening today and you're not a Christian, what is your ultimate inspiration? What is that lens that you see life through? And just think about that as you write. this one. Give yourself grace. Man, we as writers, we can be our worst critics, right? Our own worst critics. And people are mean, but we can be our own worst critics. So I think one of the best things that we can do is just give ourselves the grace to write bad things, give ourselves the grace to make mistakes, and to start over. Um, we have to let go also of that sense that the story has to fit together perfectly and then it has to fit together perfectly right away and right now. There's plenty of time for editing, plenty of time to get it right. But if we can just let go of that sense that we have to be perfect and give ourselves the grace to fail, the inspiration will just keep on flowing, or it'll flow a lot easier. Also, do you ever find that you compare yourself to other writers? I know I have been blessed here recently to be surrounded by some fantastic writers, some people who really are on the right track in my mind and who are so very talented. And it just seems like God has blessed them so much. And I have a tendency to compare myself to them and see where they are on their author journey and think, I'm just nowhere near that yet. But we can't do that, right? Because we're all on different places in our writing journey, and God has given us all different and unique abilities and unique and different desires and ideas in our minds and our hearts. So let's give each other grace, and don't forget to write your story because that's just God put it there for you and for other people. And this one, oh, my little Dory fish, just keep writing, just keep writing. It's a no-brainer, I know, and I hear writers say this all the time. You've got to just keep doing it. Just keep putting pen to paper. It will keep those ideas flowing. Doesn't matter what you're writing, just make sure you're writing. In fact, the only writing class that I ever took was in college. It was Writing 101, I think. And that was the one thing, the biggest takeaway from that writing class was just start writing. Just keep writing. And it doesn't matter, something good will come of it. Keep on flowing. So yeah, again, keep writing, right? It doesn't matter what you write. If you're writing a recipe, taking notes, it doesn't matter. Just write. And don't put it off. I do have a lot of inspiration when I'm driving down the road and I see pretty sights, or my kid starts singing or does something cute and I get inspired by that. So um, grab your cell phone and record yourself a message or write it on a scrap piece of paper or something and take it home and flesh it out later. Flesh it out during your next planned scheduled writing session. Just don't put it off. Make sure, because you'll forget your inspiration. You'll forget exactly how you felt in the moment when you first had that inspiration, or at least I always do. Then join writers groups. Oh, you guys know how important this is. There are so many online writers groups that you can join. I've been blessed to join several of them, and it's how I met the WWJs, and what a blessing that's been. Such a huge network, such a huge community of people out there who are doing the same thing that you're doing. A lot of them have a lot more experience than me, and it's really fun and helpful to share ideas with them, and they can point you in the right direction. And then if you can find a writers group who that you can meet in person, like a local group, they become friends. Oh my goodness, and they help so much. They'll actually hold you accountable too. My writers group will get on me like, why haven't you been writing this week, or what are your goals this week, and why aren't you moving along, what's going to happen to this character. So it's fantastic to have a group that can hold you accountable. And also, I don't know about you guys, but I talk about writing a lot. So my friends and my family are tired of hearing me talk about it. It's all I talk about. So not everybody is as, I guess, inspired or excited about plot holes or how you can change a character's mind or whatever. They're not as excited about that as we are as writers. So it's fantastic just to have somebody to talk to about writing. And then find beta readers. So you guys know we need beta readers. We have to make sure that there's no plot holes. We have to make sure that the story makes sense, that it doesn't get boring. I actually had a sweet beta reader friend of mine tell me, you never told us how these two characters met. So you might want to, they just sort of started talking. So you might want to fix that. And that was really helpful. And, you know, our beta readers tend to be our closest friends and family members that love us. It's really hard, but if you can let go of your baby, of your work enough to share it with someone objective, completely objective, there are beta readers for hire. I found a few groups on Facebook that you can hire beta readers, and that way they'll be more objective. They won't necessarily be mean, but they won't be overly kind to you the way, my mom is the most encouraging person in the world, but it'd be good to get other people's perspective. And they often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. I love this quote. I love Zig Ziglar. This quote really caught my eye when I saw it, because every time you sit down to write that story, every time you sit down to work on whatever your whip is at currently, you're going to need to refresh that motivation, refresh that inspiration. Go back and think about your original inspiration, your ultimate inspiration. Think about the things that make you you, and just think of those things whenever you're writing. I had also wanted to throw in, just in case, I don't know if you feel this way, but some of the other speakers have touched on this too. Try and get rid of that imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not a writer because you're not famous or because you don't really know what the next step is, please don't feel that way. You are a writer. You're amazing. And I did want to share that the first thing that I did when I started my serious writing journey, it's been about 2 years ago now, was I went to a conference, a writing conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I loved it. It was amazing. I met some really great people, and I learned a lot. But when I got there, I remember driving onto the parking lot of the hotel where the conference was, thinking, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. These people are dedicated writers. They know what they're doing. You don't belong here. And I very, very nearly turned around and went home. I really thought about it, and I just felt like such an imposter. But I'm so glad that I stayed. I'm so glad that I learned what I learned, and that I've kept writing. I've written a whole book since then, and several short stories. So don't give up. Definitely keep writing. You're not an imposter. With that being said, thank you so much for listening to my session here. It was really fun. I love getting to talk about writing. I love talking about the things that inspire me, and I love sharing how I come up with my ideas. So again, love yourself, remember your original inspiration, and keep writing. Um, I'm going to show you a couple of my links here. I would absolutely love for you to chat me up sometime. Definitely come find me. Find me on sunriseblue.wordpress.com. You'll be able to see my short stories and things there, and links to my podcast and all that. See what I got going on. I would really love to meet you and to find out where you are in your writing journey. And I'm going to go ahead to the chat. And while I'm doing that, if you would like to, no pressure, but if you'd like to maybe share some of the things that you wrote down while we were talking, and the things that you were inspired by, if you don't want to share now, that's completely fine. But take a look at it whenever you're starting to feel. Oh, I'm trying to stop the share. There we go. Okay. So yeah, whenever you're feeling like you need some extra inspiration, pull out that notebook and think about like what your original inspiration was, and the things that make you you, and just see what you come up with. It's really helpful for me. So thank you guys so much again. I hope you're really enjoying the conference, and I can't wait to chat with you all. So let's look over here and see. Aw, thanks, Tish. Yep. Um, oh, thanks, Sally. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, moms as readers. Yeah, my mom is definitely she's probably the most encouraging person I've ever met. She is just so super sweet. And I'd love for her. She's always the first person that reads my work. And sometimes my husband, he may or may not read it. And whenever he reads it, I know I'm going to get a very objective view because he doesn't mind saying, this doesn't make sense. But yeah, absolutely. Um, Jen says, let's see if I can get that up there. Yeah, knowing that I might make a difference with just one person and draw them closer to Jesus. That's so amazing. That's my absolute goal for all of my writing, my poetry, everything that I write, even when I'm journaling. I want to give glory to God, and hopefully people will see me and see Jesus in me and in my writing. So in my notebook, I wrote down for my ultimate inspiration, obviously, was God, is God, and will always be that. And then I wrote down the things that make me feel like myself are definitely my family. I will call, and I recommend this too. I don't know if you ever get stuck, but you can call your family and just reminisce, or your friends, whoever, and reminisce about the times that you felt inspired about, I don't know, for your work or whatever, but I will sit and talk on the phone and just remember and think about stuff and go visit places. I love I love the things that bring me inspiration. That's my sweet Betty, Aunt Betty. She says, this is funny. Her inspirations are chocolate, my family, my hometown, and my experience. Oh, as a teacher, yes. She is a fantastic teacher. She has taught her whole life and just touched so many hearts. I'm sure you have a lot of stories. But yep, I can definitely see chocolate being an inspiration. And your hometown, yeah. So Edenton is my sweet little hometown too, and it's if you haven't ever visited, you should check it out. But it's just a small, sweet, beautiful little place, and there's a whole lot of inspirational things there. And I know you guys too, wherever your hometown is. I know Jen's hometown. She used that inspiration a lot in Sweet Potato Jones, and you can really see that love rolling out. Absolutely. I'll make Betty a writer next. She already does a lot of writing. Um, that's been really cool having her here. I'm just going to scroll up through the comments. Oh yeah, accountability and critique partners. Sally, I see Sally says she needs a critique partners, and man, it's so important. I cannot tell you how important this has been for me. The most important thing that I did since I started my writing journey, other than actually writing, was finding these partners to talk with in my writers groups. Oh my goodness, how helpful they have been. So encouraging. I love Dory too. Oh, thank you, Lenny the Last Lightning Bug. This is my latest children's picture book. It's a really sweet story. You definitely have to check that out. Yeah, this one. Um, Giving yourself grace. This is something that's so hard. It's so hard for us because I know when I'm writing, I'm constantly thinking, is this going to be good enough? Is this going to, and every once in a while, I just have to stop and take a breath and say, no, just concentrate on your writing. It is good enough because God gave you this idea, and it'll take some time, but we'll get there. Oh, this is so fun going up through all the comments. Oh, and weirdness makes everyone special. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're all weird in our own special way. And the things that we think are weird are the things that make us unique and the things that God put in us to bless others. Oh, here we go. I'm quirky. Yeah. And I did see a comment too that said, "I'm hungry. I'm listening, but I need to eat." So that was one of the things that I actually originally thought about putting in this presentation. So some of the things that distract us when we're trying to work are if you're hungry, grab a Snickers. Oh, oh yes, right here we go. Coffee is my inspiration. My girl's my life and everyone I meet because I see the heart. And oh, Tish, and you do too. You are such a sweet lady. You really do see the heart in people. That was so sweet. And I love that coffee is your inspiration because, oh my goodness, I feel like that's a writer thing. Like you can't actually be a writer if you don't drink coffee. Oh, here's a question. How did you overcome your fear in sharing with critique groups and handling feedback when you first started? Oh, that's a great question. Um, oh, thank you. That's a fantastic question. So honestly, I just did it. If you followed me for a while, then you know that I have a lot of struggles with anxiety and trying to get out of my comfort zone. So going to my very first writers group was huge for me. It was a little scary, but it was something I just knew in my heart that I wanted to do. So I just I didn't really think about um, I didn't really think about sharing and didn't really think about having to handle the feedback and all. I just did the next step, you know, just show up. And then after that was we did this really fun thing almost every time we meet where we do a 10-minute writing prompt. So we'll all write for 10 minutes on a random prompt that we come up with right then and there. And then we share it. And that really helped because it's just a 10-minute piece. It's just something that we just threw out there. So there's not a lot of pressure. And then when everybody sort of commented on those critiques, it really helped to pave the way for critiquing my actual story, which is very nerve wracking. You know, you give somebody 10 pages of your manuscript, and then it seems like you wait forever to hear back from them, and you're just sort of um, dreading it, but also looking forward to it. And I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question. I just try to do the next thing and just something in my heart that I know needs to be done. Oh, that's cool. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Just picked up Lenny the Last Lightning Bug. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And yep. This is something that I've learned with the struggling with anxiety. A lot of times, this is all I can do is just I can't concentrate on the big picture. I'm let God take care of that whole big picture because all I can concentrate on is the very next thing. But yep, this whole the Writing Warriors for Jesus group and the conference, this has been just amazing, and I've met a lot of good friends so far. This has been such a huge step in my writing journey. And again, if you're out there and you are not a WWJ, we would love to have you. Hmm. Yep, I think that's about all of my time, unless anybody has one more thing, any more comments. But thank you so much for hanging out with me and chatting with me. This has been really fun, and I hope to see you again in the chat this afternoon after everyone else is done. So definitely stick around and check out the next presenter. It's going to be fantastic.